This is a fun pod.
Matt, I can't guarantee that this is going to be a fun pod.
The funnest.
No, I can't guarantee it. Are you guaranteeing funnest?
I'm guaranteeing.
Is it a money back guarantee?
Sure.
I'm out of here. It's the Bill Simmons podcast. I'm Chris.
And I'm Matt.
Matt, 2 podcasts again last week. The first, as per usual, Conversations with Russillo. 2 hours, 25 minutes, and 44 seconds.
Whew.
The second, Cousin Sal on the NFL draft, and then Chuck Klosterman on whatever he felt like fucking talking about. 1 hour, 47 minutes, and 21 seconds.
This seems to be his second podcast thing now. It's like amalgam.
Right, yeah. Then I was going to say combination, which is amalgam, but different. It's the Bill Simmons podcast.
Here we go.
On the first podcast of last week, 0 seconds in, bad branding.
Today's episode of the BS podcast.
It's the Bill Simmons podcast.
Yep.
I think we really do need your judging prowess.
Home and auto insurance.
Then a botch.
When you want the real deal.
The ruling, Chris, is ch, and also is a botch.
Is a botch
Yes.
on something he's being paid to say. At 1:14, listen as Bill tries to use words commonly found in English.
It's an unbelievably great and useful cause that helps our hospital heroes, emergency workers, and
Now he says unbelievably.
I think it was just unblibbly.
it's an unbelievably
Then he goes on to say what I thought was hospitaliers, but maybe is, if you slow it down, hospital heroes?
hospital heroes.
Maybe he's going 1 for 2 on that. At 1:51, podcast with no T.
Wherever you get your podcasts.
I think if you say extra S's at the end of podcasts, it's plural.
Podcasts.
That's all you have to do. At 2:29, my favorite botch of the week.
That's all coming up right now. Russillo.
What he's doing is talking about things that are coming up on other podcasts and reflexively tries to say, that's all coming up, but first, and then realizes, oh, actually, that's not coming up after Pearl Jam. Let me re-intro this, but just leaves it all in.
That's all coming up.
That's the
stuff.
quarantine level of quality you're getting from Cousin Kyle these days. Then Pearl
Did you
Jam
hear,
at 2:33. Matt, then Pearl Jam at 2:33. Go ahead, Matt.
Did you hear he made some offhand comment? I can't remember if it was this week where he talked about sending the file to Kyle.
Yes.
So apparently Kyle is still doing the editing.
Well, in as much as he ever does. Like that time when Chris Harrison from The Bachelor just said consonants for 25 seconds, and they're like, it's fine. Everybody knows what he's talking about.
Bachelor Nation wasn't those 5, maybe even 8 years.
7:52, vocabulary struggles.
After that 97-98 thing.
He means season, that 97-98 NBA season.
Yes.
At 8:05, this Joe Bluth nominee.
It doesn't make sense now.
At 8:09, Bill brags about writing something as recently as 2 years ago.
As I laid out in the piece I wrote 2 years ago.
Matt, technically speaking, he's right in as much as it was at least 2 years ago. I think what he's talking about is the story he wrote for The Ringer, February 23rd of 2018, how LeBron can finish his fairy tale better than MJ. Technically, as you know, we're big on technicalities here.
Yes.
This podcast went live April 20th, which means it was closer to 26 months ago, not 2 years. You want to give him a pass on this, don't you?
Hyper technical.
11:14. Hey, remember when he was a 6th grade girl?
Remember in 97.
I think he means remember. He does it all the time. I can't believe this guy is an audio professional.
I remember. That's how my daughter says it. She's 5.
Isn't I remember that failed sex project from Apple?
I like it.
At 12:01, Bill is a big shot.
We find out some stuff in the last 2 parts. Spoiler alert.
You cannot say spoiler alert for something that no one has seen because it has not yet aired. And in fact, will not air for another 4 weeks. This is a huge douche move. At 1909,
The NBA Entertainment.
he probably means NBA Entertainment. At 1921, It was easy to do because there was only one scene.
And they let them behind the scene, and you got a little taste of it.
Which scene do you think they were behind? At 25:19, man, as you point out, unnecessary article, bad talking.
And I'm sure it's on like the HBO Go site.
It'd be like saying it's on the Netflix site.
At 25:24, however, Bill, it turns out, does know how to speak English right. Sometimes it just takes a few seconds for English to click in.
And you love the 30 for 30 series.
Oh, man, I was ready. I was going to jump on that.
It,
Why do you have an article there? But then he finally gets around to saying series, which, by the way, if he always did, we would give him a hard time. I mean, at least not about that.
I was going to say, not only did he save it from being an unnecessary article, but that was like a prime opportunity for him to say thing.
Oh, not bad, Matt. That's a good point. See, we don't just criticize him.
Good job not fucking it up, Bill.
I got some criticism here at 26:17 for this new word.
When We Were Kings was another big Landpoint.
Another big what?
It's a Landpoint, Matt.
Landpoint.
It's not a landmark. It's not a high point. It's a landpoint, as you and your fellow cartographers must know. A landpoint is the part on the compass rose that appears on a map that points at land. Very needed for like sailors and stuff.
All I can think of is Land Shark.
The Saturday Night Live sketch?
Yes. No, not the shitty beer.
Jimmy Buffett rolls over in his grave. At 26:29, turns out Bill is an important guy.
30 for 30 was important, obviously.
Obviously, what he did was important.
Yeah,
Let's not let this opportunity to self-aggrandize go by. At 26:34, this Joe Bluth nominee.
What's cool about this and why we'll remember it long term.
I'm not even sure what he said.
It has to do with memory. Do you know, Matt, this is a quiz, the first high-quality nonfiction ESPN ever did? Let's narrow it down to some of the things that ESPN does that are nonfiction. Can you think of any off the top of your head?
All of them.
Football, baseball, college basketball.
Yes.
Almost all the sports, I think, are not fiction.
Yep.
And I feel like they've been doing those for quite some time with a pretty high level of quality.
Yeah, I feel like it's basically the entirety of the existence of the network.
This is why we only own, at best, one house. 27:39.
It was the first really high quality nonfiction thing ESPN did.
False. Now remember, this guy is a multi-millionaire, and it shows when he's talking about
Possibly
financial
100
matters.
millionaire.
Yeah, we think he's like a 9-figure club guy.
Yeah.
Here's him talking about money at 29:44.
Secretly one of the most expensive ESPN projects ever. It was like 3 times as much as the budget was.
What budget? It was 3 times as much as what's budget? Did he just jump to calculus or something and I was outside just watching stuff go by? It was 3 times as much as the budget was. This has got to be the most apples and oranges accounting I've ever heard. At 29:51, still stroking on 30 for 30.
So by the time we started innovating 30 for 30,
I mean, the guy just cannot help himself. Matt, you'll be surprised to know, innovate, according to Merriam-Webster, to make changes, to do something in a new way, to introduce as or as if new, to effect a change in. So they were innovating 30 for 30, meaning they were making changes in 30 for 30. Not true. They were coming up with 30 for 30. They were inventing 30 for 30. They were not doing 30 for 30 in a new way. They were doing 30 for 30 for the first time.
For the first time.
He gets his own compliment to his own product wrong.
Obviously.
At 30 minutes and 2 seconds, it does sound circular.
to watch it now, it's like this well-rounded machine.
Well, whenever I'm looking for a machine, whether it be a robot
Yes,
or
yes.
a computer, then I always want to make sure that there are no sharp corners.
Yep.
Don't want to cut myself.
Yeah. Plenty of
And,
hobbies.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And also, good at jack of all trades.
Extracurriculars. Oh, Matt, listen. Any robot I purchase will be good at jacking. At 35:22, this Joe Bluth nominee.
Woj was really in his corner
At 36:22, this swallow.
to rest or when to push.
At 36:28, during the same ad, this swallow.
Body's recovery.
Now, Matt, we talked about this last week. This is the Whoop sleep and activity monitor tracker, which is apparently what the copy says. It really is a tracker for your sleep and fitness monitors. Here again at 36:40.
Whoop is the best fitness and sleep monitor tracker out there.
Bill, can we get some more botches in this same commercial for Whoop? You bet your ass. Matt, talking's hard even when it's written down in front of you so you can see all the letters, like here at 3648.
Accurately measures things like heart rate variability.
Accurately is pronounced inaccurately. And then he tries to say variability with no R. But we're not done yet at 3709.
Especially with all your new routines to stay healthy. Or
I was really hoping he was not going to correct routines, but he did. But then he left it in a paid sponsorship. At 3831, here's Bill breathing heavily in the background.
Things I like about Tua.
3949, things.
remember when we weren't sure if Tua was a top 5 pick because he had a couple injury things? It was the
Why don't you just say injuries?
Yeah, it's like that's not even one where you couldn't think of what it was. That's just an additional word.
40 minutes and 30 seconds. He's still a 6th grade girl.
okay.
He definitely texts K
Better
to
than
people, right?
member. Oh yeah, definitely.
At 4404, one of our favorite, occasionally recurring phrases.
There's going to come a nut crunch time.
We'll be back right after this. Matt, we use Anchor.fm for the Bill Simmons podcast. Anchor.fm allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, and it's free. Anchor will not only let you record and edit, you can also distribute your podcast to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more through Anchor. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership, which is handy for the Bill Simmons podcast. Anchor.fm has everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor.fm to get started. My parents took me to Lake of the Ozarks, and this was like 1980.
Did you see any of the things that are in the show? I don't know what there are.
The lake. Also trees. That's what I remember. But what my parents and like my aunts and uncles did was they would always joke hilariously about the land shark, which then terrified me about the lake. Great job.
But why would you be afraid to go in the lake? Because it wasn't the idea of the land shark that he knocked on your door?
Yeah, but Matt, the idea is if there's a shark on the land, are you going to be fucking with the water?
I guess that's true.
I feel like the incident rate of sharks has got to be higher in any body of water if they're strutting around trying to deliver flowers. That's the Landpoint I'm trying to make.
All right, all came back around.
At 49 minutes, subject-verb agreement, and also possibly an appearance by Buffalo Bill Simmons.
I don't know what the percentages is, but
I would my percentages. Matt, what's Bill's favorite recent verb?
I don't know, but I think it's something farmers do.
You're right, at 5106.
they just plowed ahead.
Yeah, it's actually not a bad usage of it, I don't think.
Yeah, but still, don't need to say plow. At 5109, another thing.
I think there are concerns with the Tua thing.
At 5334, this is what Bill expects medical professionals would wear if they were to secretly evaluate Tua during the quarantine.
They'll be wearing things with the mask. It's totally safe.
Like clothes?
Well,
Pants?
Oh, Chris, things with the mask.
Oh, right. So they're going to be wearing like snake eyes? He always wore a mask in G.I. Joe, right?
Yes, that's true.
At 5418, unnecessary article.
Including the Cam, Jameis, Dalton, all the rookies.
Maybe he thinks because Cam can actually be like a regular old noun, it's okay. At 55 minutes and 5 seconds, out of context theater.
If like they backdoor became the more fun LA team.
How do you backdoor become something? Like you sneak in? Is that what he means? Wait a second. How did you get into our living room as our most favorite team from this city? Through the back door, baby. That's the only way you can
I thought it was uncomfortable.
approach the booty is if you attack from the back, man.
Of course.
My second favorite Ryan Russillo part of the whole podcast at 10604.
If he wants to play with his son someday, he might have to go to Russia. I have a couple more.
That was harsh.
That's how long it took Ryan to pretend like he thought it was a funny joke. Listen to Bill go all out in trying to tell you how great Miller Lite is at 10810.
Reminds me of the old days, back when it was my beer of choice back in college. Miller Lite.
They are paying him a bunch of money, and he won't even say it's his current beer of choice.
I love this. Throughout this entire Miller Lite ad campaign, Bill's constant sell has been, when I was poor and in college, I drank this shitty beer because I was poor and had no money.
So now you should too. Thanks for the money, Miller Coors Brewing.
He's like, hey, listen, it's not going to taste good, and you can drink a bunch of it and not really get super hammered. So if that's your thing, Miller Lite.
At 109.04, Judge Matt.
Then there's a whole.
Ooh, that's a close one, but I thought I heard a distinct.
At 109.21, this snort.
Now that it's ape.
The background snorts are the best. At 113.49, what do you get when something is very much in dispute and it's crossed with America's most popular chocolate bar? All right, time's up. Here's the answer.
Oh, I thought you were waiting for me to.
I thought you were going to guess. You have a guess?
No, I don't have a guess.
Okay. Then you then.
Brock Osweiler quarterback controversy.
Okay.
This is actually what a pro does at 118.01 when he mispronounces something.
The way they would run him in short yardage situations.
Ryan was like, oh, wait, I just said situations. That's not right. That's not how you say that word. It's
I'll
situations.
say it again.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and get it right. There's no controversy over who is the better radio journalist guy. At 119.32, don't know what he means.
Where they could just take the sum of the parts and do shit.
This is where Bill is like, I'm going to try to get this highfalutin phrase because I know something, sum of the parts is a thing per him, but I don't know what it is or how you actually use it. And then I'll just end with some sort of vagary. How's that sound? It sounds like Seven Houses, dude. At 122.18, more breathing.
There's some throws in there that you really like,
That was more like a relieved sigh.
He was like, finally, he's going to talk about throws or whatever it is he's talking about. At 127.08, this swallow.
In wrestling, when he was.
At 128.05, this Joe Bluth nominee.
Where you talk about Sue, it reminded me of this.
At 129.58, this is a tricky one, but I think it's an article, and I think it's wrong.
But when you go back and watch this football from the 80s.
Those footballs from the 80s.
I thought it was this, but either way, it's like, as opposed to some other football from the 80s.
Yeah, I think what he means is those footballs, meaning discrete pieces of football equipment. No, I think what he means is football games from the 80s. He just wanted to make the point faster. At 132.14, more talking from Bill incorrectly.
And there aren't as many legendary defensive linemen as I thought they would be.
He means as I thought there would be.
Yes.
Uh-oh, Matt, it's the third one. Judge time at 132.47.
Here's my hot take on best players ever.
Those are H's, Chris.
Ooh, so that's H is 1, C, H is
2.
Okay. 139.36, this botch.
You can help your kids avoid.
It's minor, but he's being paid. And all you have to do is just say it over again. In fact, you could immediately say it over and just assume or possibly tell Cousin Kyle to take it out.
It's minor, but that's what we do, Chris.
That's all we do. At 142.13, if you are a top 3 pick in the NBA draft, you are automatically a lottery pick, which is why this is redundant.
Well, he was like a top 3 lottery pick.
Of all the lottery picks, he was in the top 3. If there was a draft, LeBron went 1. This is going to be bullshit. Durant went 2. Some scrubs went 3, 4, and 5. And then Dwayne Wade went 6. Dwayne Wade would be a top 3 lottery pick that year, even though he wasn't the third pick. There's no way that's what he meant.
No, that's right. That is the kind of convoluted logic that is required to make what he says make sense.
Yeah.
Good job by you, Matt, not by Bill. At 142.24, this swallow.
Barely playable. And
at 142.34, this swallow.
Who's hurt. Is playing anyway.
He called Jordan and Pippen 2 of the most frightening people ever.
2 of the most frightening people ever. And they're
I'd like to introduce you to a little guy named the Wolfman. At 145.23.
I thought he was going to get kicked out.
Gonna kicked out. At 148.49, this swallow.
Well, guess what happens? He goes to the rim every single.
At 151.37, how many hands, how many knees, how many things?
He's doing the hands on his knee things. And then
so more than one hand,
knee, right?
A single knee, and many things. All those times you have to get up off the ground, you put both hands on one knee, or when you're doing some kind of specific knee or glute stretch and you have to put both hands on one knee. So there's 2 different hands on the knee things. Now, Matt, this is a precursor to an even worse laugh. This one is at 153.35.
If there's one, I just try to think of.
I've never heard him laugh like that. Have you?
No, it sounds like a child.
It's weirdly cackly.
Yeah.
It seemed really forced. Trying to think. Bill, again, so shy, so humble at 154.
It's one of my like 5 best
Right.
talents.
Well, that's
I'm
great.
so good at it. Toupees
so-
and wigs. I know every time.
Yeah.
What do you think the other 4 are?
Convincing people to give him his money. Growing a beard. Yacht rock DJ.
Yeah, that's definitely one.
And then there's probably something that's legitimate, like
Pat his head and rub his stomach at the same time.
listen to all the things that the crowd was attuned to at 20106.
The crowd is just totally attuned to Michael and the crowd.
The crowd is attuned to 2 separate things. One of those things is Michael, and the other is itself.
This is great. This is awesome.
It's an
The crowd is
Ouroboros
like
crowd.
the crowd is eating itself. The crowd is like, listen, I promise you, we know when shit is up with us.
At 20146.
It was so fucking fast. Like it's not like it's not like they happen 30 seconds apart. The crowd is so attuned with like Michael and the crowd. He had said it like 2 seconds before. And Ryan, yeah, that crowd definitely was attuned with that other crowd. Or the
Now,
same
you said this
crowd.
many months ago. I think there must be some edict that's like, listen, he makes a lot of money. He's in charge. We would not get the funding without him. He says a bunch of bullshit. Just don't call him out because it makes him really irritated. And they're like, all right, as long as the check's clear.
It's like, what if he says something like really dumb, like a crowd is attuned to the crowd? Nope, you gotta let it go.
Let these other idiots, one of whom is sitting in his 9-year-old daughter's bedroom, take the piss out of that. At 20226, Matt, judge time.
You can hear it the whole time.
Big challah bread.
So that's 3 with the C and
Yep.
only 1 with the H. At 21141, this snort. At 21817, this laughter. I'm really not buying it, Matt, but what I'm not buying even more is this laughter at 22023. That's that fake laughter we're talking about. I don't know where that's coming from.
Yeah.
Super forced. At 22118, more laughter, but at least it seems legitimate. On the other hand, terrifying when slowed down. At 22140, I think he wants to turn it up, but I don't think he means like this.
We might have to turn it up to a Twitter poll again.
Yeah, you know, something about volume.
This one goes to a Twitter poll. At 22153, unnecessary article.
We have to do the Phoenix, and then we're going to do...
It's the new dance sensation that is sweeping the podcast nation. It's the Phoenix, and you have to do it.
What he's doing there is, it should be the Phoenix game, and instead of eliminating game or series and replacing it with thing, he's just decided to eliminate the last word altogether.
At 224, this swallow possibly with a Buffalo Bill intro.
We have the draft coming Thursday. We can...
Oh, was the draft a real big fat girl?
My favorite one.
It's like the only one I really could get out of the brain. At 224.43, this botch.
It's sensitive information.
Wonder what he was going to say before he said information. Sensitive information. I think he was going to maybe say thoughts.
Okay. Oof.
To end the first podcast of last week the same way he started it, this bad branding at 225.16.
See you in a couple days in the BS pod.
Chris, we'll be right back after this break, brought to you by iMember.
Matt, as always, we want to thank the people that support us monetarily, not the people that support us emotionally, because honestly, emotional support doesn't pay the bills the way Josh N., Jeff G., Scott B., Sean, and our friends at College Football Brothers Podcast support us with money. They do it through Patreon, patreon.com/bspodpod. You can also support us as David P. and Scott B. do through Anchor. That's anchor.fm/bspodpod. David, as we always say, you're giving us too much money. Also, I think Scott B. is possibly giving us money through Anchor and Patreon. Scott, it's not worth it. Thank you very much to our producers. Here are all the things Bill and his guests found delicious in the last week. Or just funny sounds.
Ooh.
Bill,
because he felt like
All right, Chris, before we get to the second podcast of the week, we would like to thank our newest Patreon and apparently, by his own decree, executive producer, Pierre.
Bonjour, Pierre.
Good to have you, Pierre.
0 seconds in, bad branding.
today's episode of the BS podcast.
37 seconds in, this ad botch.
But individually packed.
Is that how you say individually?
I don't know what it is. He didn't really say it wrong. He just said it weird.
When are we going to get that speech pathologist to come on and talk about him?
Maybe Pierre knows one.
Pearl Jam at 144. This Joe Bluth nominee at 221.
I don't know. It was such a happy night.
At 243, unnecessary article.
You had the Green Bay takes a quarterback out of nowhere.
At 633, this swallow.
I don't know if it gets taped.
Matt, what do you call it when you pay for your SMS messages with cash and then you get something back?
Text refund.
You're very close. Listen to the correct answer at 906.
17 different text change with things, but
It's a text change.
Change. All right, I
You
like
get
it.
text change back. Yeah, it wasn't perfect,
Okay,
Matt,
that's
but
fine.
neither
Yeah,
is
okay.
text change with things.
I don't know why I'm tracking this out.
To make that money. At 1721, this Joe Bluth nominee.
just one of the most popular guys in that campus.
At 2238, this swallow.
How did he get these guys to 9 and 7? That's with
At 2246, this swallow.
a bunch of thirds. They'll trade back again.
At 2254, this Joe Bluth nominee.
I'll do this story now, but this is my son's first draft.
That was a good one.
At 20, they're all good to me, Matt. At 2313, this Joe Bluth nominee.
He said, no, we're gonna take him. And
My favorite ones are the Joe Bluth nominees where he just stops. We're going to take him. No need. At 2322, our favorite kind of parent reference, bad.
he was like, "What the hell?"
His 12-year-old just says to him, what the hell?
Awesome.
At 2947, our favorite new verb.
My wife's been just plowing through Below Deck.
He had watch all queued up on his tongue, and then he was like, nope, I got to get that plow
Wait,
money.
am I talking about my wife? Plow.
Yes. At 3108, this so called to mind an NWA song from the 90s. I think it was called Automobile. Very rude song.
It's like, stop, no,
Right.
don't.
And the said 3 words, man. Stop, no, and don't. I said,
Is this like a hip thing that the young people say at 3422?
Did you realize that pool tables were in the smoke?
In the smoke?
In the smoke?
Is it a thing?
I don't know. If it is, I don't know about it.
In the smoke. Do you mean the song by Cerrone? Thanks to athletes using the phrase in trash talk, "we want all the smoke," is most often used to mean your team is ready to take on any challenge. It is the same as saying, "bring it on." I don't think that's right.
Yep.
Urban Dictionary. Hand me the controller, bro. I want to play you in 2K. Nah, fam, you can't handle the smoke. I still don't think it's right. Matt, my favorite thing is when Bill talks about food, but maybe interior decoration is starting to move up at 3440.
Like he
Yeah.
had this little pool room with like all pictures and stuff.
You know how rooms are all nice when they have all pictures and stuff? At 3623, this laughter.
Reminds us.
Very sinister.
Reminds us.
Matt, do you know what the plural of father-in-law is?
Fathers-in-law?
I think the same would hold true here at 3649, but it doesn't.
He's doing moment of silences
Should be moments of silence. At 3920, time to judge.
and also how bad.
Oh, you think that was a
I think
CH?
it was there, yeah.
If you're waiting for your worldwide web connection to connect, but it hasn't quite done it, it's called this at 3930.
No internet yet.
The inner yet. At 4148, more Buffalo Bill.
Football, I can't figure out.
I don't know. I couldn't hear that one.
I can't figure out a big fat girl. No, I don't know. It's just, I don't even know.
Sounds like
Funny.
a Kermit the fucking Frog.
I felt like it was me trying to do Send Dog from Cypress Hill. And you know we're gonna get you. Even worse. Even worse. Here's how it works when you change something. You do a thing, then you redo it, and then,
And then
it becomes the thing.
True, and you just redo the schedule, and that becomes the schedule.
That's how a crowd can be attuned to a crowd. At 45.
God, that's going to be my favorite one for a long time in the crowd.
At 45:16. Bill's head is involved, so you know problems immediately arise.
And I'm slowly reconciling with that in my head.
He was like, "Oh shit, I know I used reconciling wrong. Let me just keep talking. Say in my head. Say in my head. In my head.
I like Bill's internal monologue.
Reconcile. To restore friendly relations between. To cause to coexist in harmony. So I'm slowly causing to coexist in harmony in my head. Oh, okay. Got it. At 45:19, 3 seconds later.
Whatever life was like up until 6 weeks ago is just not going to be life anymore. And it'll be some different version of it.
He can't say life has changed. Life, the way it had been at 48:05, this laughter.
What was that?
Always better slowed down.
Yeah.
What was that?
Matt, I'm glad to see this make a long overdue return at 51:25. Bill shouting angry gibberish.
And it's like, well, so-and-so just hung out. He slept over.
It's not like,
yeah,
all right, dude, because nobody knows what the fuck you just said.
This is reminiscent of the Houston people.
At 54:43, this botch.
No human contact required.
Acquired.
It sounds like it has something to do with the group of people who sing in church. At 54:52, this botch.
From home and need to mail stuff. Stamps.com.
It's one of these minor botches, but it's a minor botch for something they're paying him to do. At 58:05, Bill talks about something that is very intriguing and possibly does not, as he would say, exists.
I just wanted to talk about the Michael Jordan podcast.
What Michael Jordan podcast? What is he talking about? He's got to be talking about the Michael Jordan documentary?
Yes.
Unless this is that secret guy from Reddit that was like, there's going to be a Michael Jordan podcast, but then there hasn't been. I would love to hear a Michael Jordan podcast, but it doesn't exist or exists. Now, Matt, it turns out there were a lot of people whose opinions matter, who didn't realize how great basketball was during the 90s. Three kinds of people especially. Number one, basketball media.
Where a lot of people who are in the basketball media or...
Okay, got it. Sounds good.
All right, number three, we're skipping number two. Number three, Twitter people.
Or Twitter people.
Now, that seems kind of broad, Chris.
Also, not sure why we give a shit what the opinions of Twitter people were or are, but it's important to Bill. Now, number two is a trickier one.
Basketball media adjacent.
Who are people who are adjacent to basketball media?
When you're at the game and there's a media guy there, if you're sitting next to him, you're now included.
There's a guy that's reporting on the game from the basketball media.
Right.
And they didn't know about basketball in the 90s. And then some other school teacher, businessman who's sitting next to him. And it turns out that guy didn't know either.
Right. He's adjacent.
All right. It's silly of me to think that was hard to understand. You made it all so clear. At 103.09, he once again talks about a basketball piece he wrote 2 years ago.
I wrote a piece 2 years ago about how I do think Jordan would have played.
In fact, Matt, 2 years and almost 2 months ago. At 1:12:12, this is what Klosterman says.
It seemed like every journalist who had seen this documentary in advance was making sure people knew that they'd seen it. It's like I heard people talking about it, and they're saying like, "Oh, episode 7."
You mean like if they were to say spoiler alert?
Yes.
When talking to Russillo about it?
There were two kinds of journalists. There were kinds who had seen it and wanted to let you know they'd seen it. And then there were the kind who were bitter they didn't get to make it for 30 for 30.
You know what every basketball team needs to succeed? A singular kind of player. Listen at 122:30.
Every team has a one like that.
A one.
Oh, a one.
Maybe he's talking about point guards. Those are called ones, right?
Yeah, that's true. Is that what he means?
No. At 122:33, Bill tries to combine particular and unusual on the fly.
Is particular and unusual
or possibly particular and usual. So it was like particular and, pretty common.
Matt, I left this in here just for me at 125:15. It has to do with a specific lab.
If you were just in a science lab.
We need to come up with the best ever basketball defender. Well, we need to go to the lab. Well, which lab? What do you mean, which lab? The lab where we do like weird science, about evolution and eugenics, or I don't know, putting together like cheetah DNA with like, alligators and gorillas and like people. I'm still not sure what kind of lab you're talking about. God damn it, Roscoe. I'm talking about the science lab.
The science lab. Where do you work? MIT. Oh, what do you do there? Science lab.
At 1:30:06, this is a bad smelling kind of legacy.
If you're really talking like goat legacy, like
goat, which is short for greatest of all time. You're talking about greatest of all time legacy.
No, I think it's more like farm animal.
Matt, at 136.24, there will be no jokes about Bill's mispronunciation of mid-range.
Kobe was this awesome mid-range shooter.
At 136.27, time to judge.
Jordan's at this whole other level.
I think that's H's. It's 4-2.
I can almost see it being a C in there, just a barely in there.
Yeah, but it might be in there, but there's no.
I see what you mean. 137.02, this Joe Bluth nominee.
There I was like, well, he wouldn't have shot three. Like, he would have done whatever was going to win.
I judge him as they're good if there are 3 stutters.
Matt, at 139.38, Bill turns inscrutably philosophical.
We're getting older, and every year you get older, there's another year of people that just have no idea.
What does year measure? I thought it was a unit of time. 365 days, 12 months, right?
The worst part is I know exactly what he's saying, but he just said it so poorly.
It's not like you go, well, now I'm 38, and now all the people born in 1993 feel that way. Great.
Or
all the year of the rabbits.
Right. Or alternatively, it's not like, it's like, well, I turned 38, and now all the infants who were born this year don't know anything about Michael Jordan.
Matt, at 143.28, Bill's understanding of the space-time continuum continues to suffer.
Slow motion jog for an hour of time.
He's like, listen, I want these guys to know it's going to be an hour, but not those other kinds of hours, an hour of time. At 146.43, Bill puts the emphasis on the wrong syllable in the word beautiful.
Beautiful girls.
It's not beautiful girls. It's beautiful girls.
Beautiful girls, yeah.
He definitely says Taco Bell. Well, Matt, I think we've taken up at least 30 or so minutes of time.
I got to go play with my iMember.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Matt. There's got to be not a condition, but like it's not a speech impediment, but it's certainly like a, I don't
like
even
a
know what I'm trying to
neuroses?
say. Yeah, this has got to be a thing that people struggle with, or maybe just Bill.
Well, maybe you're also struggling with how to define it. You remember the guy Beetlejuice? I don't know if he's still on Howard Stern, but he was back when it used to be on the E.
I thought you meant the actual monster.
No. Is he a
Also,
monster?
you said his name once, so be careful here.
Well, anyways, when Beetlejuice was on Howard Stern, somebody would ask him a question and he would go, "Who, me?" And then I read some psychological breakdown of Beetlejuice, that's only 2, where they said that Mr. Juice's response to every single question with "Who, me?" was like the sign of some kind of condition. I think you think that the thing is similar.
Yeah. When you said bee juice, it made me think of that terrible bee movie where Jerry Seinfeld played a bee that fell in love with a woman, or possibly the woman fell in love with the bee.
I was sure you were going to say short for butt juice.
You know I had to get ya.